Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. We're doing a special Saturday show here. We don't really, but you know, when you have to go ahead and cleanse, get the white sage out, get things ready to go, you know, got the crystals set up, got to make sure that everything's all set and ready to go, because we need to make sure that the Above the Bar podcast is completely cleansed and ready to go. You know, we're stacking Bibles, holy water, anything we need to make sure. But if you're going to do it, you better do it right, and you better bring professionals. So we decided this week we have a perfect opportunity coming from us from one of my favorite states to go to when I was in the Marine Corps, because there's nothing like Yuma Yummies. That's a whole nother subject that we can talk about off air there, folks. But coming to us from the Arizona area right now, we have all three members of the Unearthing the Supernatural team. We have Hero, Sean Clan, and Pataya. See, I got that shit right, didn't I?
There you go.
And Pataya, they're going to belly up to the bar with us today. Gentlemen, thank you.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You didn't realize you were getting a friggin' entire cheers and all that shit.
There we go, right?
So we're going to get into how these gentlemen came to my attention. Actually, they came to my attention twofold. One, from one of our great friends, Nathan. The other one, I didn't realize I already knew who they were because I had already seen them on TV. And it just didn't dawn on me at the moment, because we've all, you know, I watch so much TV. It's ridiculous. I love TV. My dad was an original couch potato. I'm all about it. So as we get ready to get into this week, as always, folks, before we get ready to go too far, we've got Sticker and a Cause. If you've got anything going on, whether you believe in something, you've got your own podcast, you've got your own supernatural investigation team. We actually saw my wife and I, the Catskill one in Catskill, New York. They were hanging out at a thing my wife and I went to. So make sure you send us whatever it is that you got going on, whatever your deal is. I don't care. If you're supporting something, contact me. Our Facebook is The Above the Bar Podcast. Our Twitter is the only one that's goofy. It's at Above the Bar 4. Everything else, whether it be our Twitch, our Instagram, everything is The Above the Bar Podcast. You reach out, send me an instant message, direct message, whatever they call them now, and we will go ahead and get you situated. And if you feel like your media is a little is haunted and not getting the right spirit that it needs, make sure you reach out to Media by Dibs, your connections for all things from logos, marketing campaigns, and flyers. Making your ideas a reality. Mention Belly Up to the Bar for a 10% off your first order and a free consultation. So that's all that. I got to ask this question because it was asked to me recently. Do you gentlemen know where the term Belly Up to the Bar comes from? No. Do you know what it means?
Not really, no.
I had no fucking idea either. I'd heard it my whole life. It was like, hey, man, I'm going to belly up to the bar. It was a way in colonial times to determine whether you were old enough to drink or not. If your belly reached the bar, you were old enough to drink.
There you go. Nice.
So there's a piece of worthless knowledge. I have messed up a PIN number or a password for somebody now that they will remember this, and you won't know how to get into your bank account. Congratulations. So I want to say how, you know, like I mentioned, Nathan, I first didn't realize that I met these gentlemen. And real quick, folks, if you were listening to us, because I don't want to get Facebook jailed again, make sure you share this all over to all your Facebook pages, all your different mediums. Make sure you're sending it out to everyone. Make sure you're taking your friends' phones and you're putting subscribe on their phones. Strangers' phones. Take the stranger's phone out of their purse and put this on there. Matter of fact, let me see if I can help you out real quick. Okay, Google, subscribe them to the Above the Bar podcast. So now all your shit just went off.
There you go.
See, mine's even going off. Shut up. Shut up. But no, so I first came to know you guys. You were on the Demi Lovato Peacock show uncovering. Got it. I just forgot the name of it. What was the-
Unidentified.
Unidentified.
Yep.
And you, Hero, did a protection ritual
That's correct. Yes.
because that was the whole. Is it Vulture City?
Yes. Vulture City in near Wickenburg, Arizona.
Now, where were you, Peta? I got it. See, I did it. Patai.
With that one, I was unable to attend. Yeah, we all work our normal day jobs as well as doing this. So
Are you a banker?
no, I actually work at a dealership.
Close enough. Makes
Yeah,
good
pretty
sense.
close. Pretty
It
close.
makes good. I was in that wheelhouse. Now, how does this come to be? I mean, obviously, Hero and Sean Clan, you're brothers, so
Yeah.
you guys kind of knew each other. How does this whole thing come together that you start doing paranormal investigation?
Go ahead, Chuck.
So my brother is a medicinal medicine person for our local tribe here in Arizona, and he was gifted his gift at the very young age of 13 years old, 12, 13 years old, around that age. So me being his brother, I grew up with him at a very young age, and ever since then to now and into the future, we're going to be doing ceremonies and blessings for spirits, people, and pretty much the land. And Pattaya is a very long friend that we've had for a long time. So pretty much, how old were you?
6'9" is that long?
how old were you guys? Like 3 years old, 2, 3 years old?
3 years old. This is before Sean Clinton was even born.
Yeah.
Oh,
So they grew up in the same trailer park with each other as kids, and we all kind of grew up with each other. And with that, with all the spiritual teachings and ceremonies that we've gone through, it didn't dawn on me until about 2 years ago now. I'd say about 2 years it's been since I wanted to form Unearthing the Supernatural. And we all grew up being really good fans of like Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, and all these other ghost hunting shows. And we honestly thought that they were really missing some key factors when it comes to communicating with spiritual deities and spiritual beings. And that was one thing that I wanted to be able to bring into this 21st century, is to teach people a little bit more the Native American aspects on how we view the paranormal and the spiritual, certain steps you take when you communicate with spirits, and how you can actually help them during our investigations. Now, Pattaya not being Native by blood, he has earned his right to be able to be a part of Unearthing the Supernatural throughout the years of him coming along with us to ceremonies, helping us with a lot of stuff. And just in these past 2 years of investigating, he has earned his stripes to be able to be a part of.
What does that mean, Patai? How did you earn your stripes?
Well, if you watch our episodes, which are now going to be all available on YouTube, you will see that I tend to be the spiritual punching bag of the group.
Wait is that?
That's very true. The truth, almost in the truest of terms.
Are you the Scooby Doo of this whole thing?
Pretty much. I
Like
mean,
you're the one getting chased by whatever's going down.
Chased or possessed, you know. They go hand in hand anymore. No, I didn't grow up with the same generational spiritual teachings and protections that Hero and Shanklan did. So that makes me a little more acceptable to these things. So
now you kind of you hinted at this a little bit, Shanklan, and you said gifted this ability. What did for you, Hero? What did that mean for you for somebody to say, "Hey, like I was gifted with this"? You hear it in different cultures, and I really truly believe every culture has this. It's just how they either embrace or shun. But how is that to you when you're 13 years old and somebody says, "Oh, look at you"?
Well, it was a very shocking experience. My first time realizing that I was gifted, being told I was gifted. As a 13-year-old boy, Shanklan and Pattaya both have seen that we come from very, very powerful families as far as they're very traditional. They raised us in ceremony throughout our whole lives, and raised us to be pretty self-sufficient, knowing how to pray, knowing how to survive, and all that from both our mom and dad's side taught us to be a little bit unique, and we were unique. And my gift eventually developed into where I was 13, and so they're saying, okay, we're going to develop it a little bit more. And at that point, I was selected to be part of the very particular program where only 4 Diné or Navajo people were actually selected for this, like a guardianship role. And other tribes have this guardianship role as well, but it's a very exclusive type of training where it's, I kind of coined the term of a cultural exchange program amongst the very elite indigenous, to where we go to different tribes and we learn the different songs and ceremonies in an effort to maintain the cultural beliefs, maintain the sacred ceremonies, and then also just really learn how to take up that role as a guardian. And with that, what that entails is a lot of different spiritual teachings, a lot of different cultural practices, and really acknowledging and recognizing our ancestral heritage. So with that, it was a long journey, a very intense journey, that's for sure. But up to the point where now I'm a certified medicinal person. I've been coined the term as the Native American exorcist. And so kind of fighting big bads, bad things, darker side of things is kind of a little bit of our specialty. But we're just here to bring balance, maintain the cultural lifeways, and just spread a little bit of how we as Indigenous people interact with the other side.
And I'm going to throw this left turn in for a second. So again, realizing that Hero and Sean Clan were Navajo excited me even more. I did 20 years in the Marine Corps.
There you go.
The Navajo.
The code talkers.
The code talkers were such an integral part of our history as Marines during the Second World War that was like just hearing that and then hearing you speak in your native language. I wanted to ask you. Now, a lot of different cultures, people lose these abilities to speak native tongues. Do you still? Is it just for ceremonial purposes, or you speak Navajo?
I'm not extremely fluent in Navajo in per se. A lot of my, like I said, in the cultural exchange program, was the language that was spoken is in English, translated out to like a universal or spiritual language that a lot of tribes use, and actually even the spirits recognize. But as far as for Navajo or Denepazad, we do speak a bit of it. We do are able to conversate with a little bit of our elders. I like to say that we know enough to survive. We know enough to be on the reservations, but we don't quite know enough to be Navajo Nation president, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it sounds to me, and if I'm hearing this right, Sean Clan, this was your idea. You wanted to bring this to life. You wanted to kind of put everything out there. This is our culture. This is our people. This is what we do.
Yeah.
Patai was like, these are my boys. I'm going to just hang out. Let's see what the hell happens. Now, exactly. I'm curious, Patai, for yourself, this, this form of culture is 180 out. If you're okay with me asking, Gujarati, Punjabi, what's your background?
So I grew up Catholic and Christian.
Okay.
And being around these guys, I've come to, growing up as Catholic and Christian, of course, you learn the Bible, you learn all that stuff. And then growing up with these guys, you kind of learn how they do things, and I can see how they intertwine, how they mesh together. And it's also given me a broader sense of the world around me. I have a better understanding of the spiritual realm, essentially, of how we as humans need to interact with the spiritual side of things, how the respect is due. Because I'm not going to lie, everything that's taught in a Christian and Catholic basis, evil is evil. You don't touch it. You leave it alone.
I grew up that way.
Away from it.
I was an altar boy.
And learning how to interact and respect in a way that even if it is an evil being, it may just leave you alone if you show respect. And if it doesn't leave you alone, knowing how to combat it. That's something completely new to me. And that's something that I've learned with these guys, is how to actually combat that evil.
So spiritual kung fu.
Pretty much.
Now, folks, if you're out there listening, I want your questions, your stories. Let us hear what you got going on with all this. I'm curious who's had interaction, who's had experiences. I know we're gonna talk about what I've had. We had Patty on here, Patty Negri. I know you gentlemen know who Patty is. She is phenomenal. All my stuff started to glitch while Patty was on, so I knew some shit was going down at that moment. And that kind of brings me up. So Patai, you and I probably grew up similar backgrounds. I grew up Roman Catholic. That whole don't play with this.
Yeah.
You are going to get burned.
Yeah.
Your head's going to turn around and you're going to shoot pea soup out of your mouth. You have no other choice in this. There's no in between. But also, if you are a Catholic, you also then realize, even though they told you all that, especially if you're Catholic, there's all these saints that are actually you would consider ghosts, which are considered spirits, which we have entire days, and you name your middle names after these people, and then you canonize folks. So you're really playing in that world, and just nobody wanted to tell you that. So, ta-da! I'll be the asshole. We're deep in that game. We just don't explain it the same way. So I grew up that way. How do you? I guess so. You're in all this. The three of you are in all this. Hero and Sean. This is an interesting dynamic. This is the most interesting dynamic here to me. Is I think Hero and Sean Glenn. You're like every day. This is like it's Tuesday.
Yep.
Yep.
Hell, this is what we're gonna do. Patai's over here like, I got a genuflect. I've got a, sign of the cross, fold my hands. He's going through all that. And then all of a sudden somebody's like, hey, come play this game with me. What, at what point, I'm curious, God, what does your family even think? Because like, if you grew up in a Catholic family, I know if my grandmother was alive today and I was like, Grandma, this is what I'm doing, she'd throw stuff at me. You're like, are you out of your mind? And they're all, that's an Italian background, believe it or not. So what was that like for you explaining to your family?
So not gonna lie, when we first started doing this, I didn't even tell my mom. Like I just didn't tell her. I didn't know how they were gonna take it.
No, Mom, I'm going to smoke crack. I'm not going to chase ghosts. I'd rather tell you I'm smoking crack right now.
Pretty much. I mean, that'd be more acceptable than playing around with demons, But I will say, when I did start telling like, yeah, we're gonna go do a paranormal investigation at this place. My mom's like, paranormal investigation? I was like, yeah, like Ghost Adventures, we're gonna go down and see what we can find. My mom was just like, okay. And my parents now, they've watched most of our episodes, and my mom actually watched our most recent one, the Washoe. So you can imagine what she was thinking, guys. If you haven't seen Washoe, just know that my mom was not. That's not her favorite episode, to say the least. But
something.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. But my mom actually enjoys the paranormal stuff. She watches it on TV. So when I told her that we were going to be on TV, she freaked a little bit. She was excited. She's accepted it. She stands behind what we do, because not only do we do what we do, but we do it in such a way where we make sure that ourselves are protected and our families are protected. Nothing follows us. We offer respect. Like Sean Glenn said earlier, we bring a whole nother dynamic to paranormal investigating that really I never saw watching TV shows on.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up, is when I watched Sean Glenn and Hero on the Demi Lovato show, it wasn't your typical like, so we've got our recorders, we've got our cameras, we're going to send Steve off into the dark hallway where he's going to stand there and we're going to wait and see what happens. Oh, look, something's here. No, it was like, hey, let me tell you, there's a history here. Things were, the belief is that there were giants, there were creatures that were buried here by digging up the earth. You've unearthed this. This is what's changed. And there was more of a history and more of an explanation of, here's what the deal is. Here's, our cultural belief. This is where we stand with this. And you're on, you're in our neighborhood now. So we're going to help you out, because most of those things, they just go into it. They wear medium shirts. They wear all black, and they look like extras from a Chris Angel show. And they do. And I'm not bad mouthing them. You know, it works for them. But I watch these and I'm like, I mean, I used to watch like Unsolved Mysteries and like all those growing up. And you guys approach it in such a unique way that it's very different. Now, we've kind of talked about the, hey, you know, we're staying. Biggest question you probably get in all this, and I'll ask it, is have you ever, even pre-show, you know, before all that kind of stuff, has there ever been a situation where, you know, especially for you, Hero, where you're supposed, you know, you're kind of the heavyweight champ in all this, and you went into the fight and realized I need some real backup. I need somebody else, some old dogs that have been in this fight for a long time, because right now this is just too much. Have you ever had a situation like that?
Actually, it's quite frequent. I like to say that I'm just the tool. I'm the connection. I'm the bridge. It's not when we do our ceremonies, when we go out helping people or helping spirits out, even I'm usually just the one that holds the tools and does a little bit of the translations. It's usually I attribute everything to the spirit people, to the teachings, to the ceremony. Those are the big dogs, are the ones that are actually doing a lot of the hard work. Obviously, we do what we can on the human aspect, on the physical aspect of things. There are quite a few times, especially in my earlier years, where I did ask for medicinal people, elders, people who have been a part of this a lot more, and shadowed them. I watched how they interacted with the spiritual world. I watched how they dealt with very powerful entities. And there were quite a few times where it got really hairy. And I guess you can, if you ever were to watch our shows, you'll see us wearing armor. There's a reason why we do that. And there's a reason why I have so many scars and our armor is pretty worn. So I'll kind of leave it at that.
And for you that are watching the live, starting watching. Oh, I wonder what's going on here. Amanda Love said she logged in, started watching, got kicked off. She's scared to get back on.
Oh boy.
Already starting.
Here we go.
now this is kind of right now. Everything's about cross-platform, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's got a different platform. Is there a such thing? And maybe this sounds like a jackass question, but is there a such thing as cross-platform spirits? So, like, what I mean is, so you have your, you have the spirits that are very tied to the reservations, tied to those kind of things, but then you turn around and you watching these movies as a perfect example. The Ghostbusters are, and I know I sound like an ass even bringing that up, but they're like, oh, this is from this culture, this is from that culture. Spirits that are coming in from different cultures. Have you run into that kind of a situation?
All the time. Honestly, you got it down to a T. What we believe and what we're trying to teach. What we say all the time is whatever you know about ghosts and demons, that's just barely scratching the surface. And for us, we're trying to showcase that, hey, there's a lot more out there than what people realize. There's different classifications. There's beings from different cultures. There's beings from all walks of life, from all walks of dimensions, different wavelengths, different vibrations. Pretty much we're trying to showcase our interactions with the different classifications of spirits. So yeah, you got it down to a T to where it's majorly cross-platform, that's for sure.
Yeah, like I was just curious of that. And just real quick, gents, so some folks are saying they can't see because I'm not getting everybody's comments here, so I'm not sure what is going on here. So let's see if we can figure out, because we've got a lot of people on the different pages that are making comments. Nathan, who introduced us, Nathan Hartster, who introduced us, he said, "Hey, what's up, guys?" So I want to throw that out there. I don't know why.
How's it going, Nathan? Thank you for introducing us and being our middleman, pretty much.
He's been that his whole life,
right?
His whole life, he's been the middleman, pivot man sometimes, but that's totally different. I don't know why. So my wife, wife, what page are you going on? I swear to God, I just saw the screen do something weird. I don't know if I can watch it. Even my wife is saying this. Babe, what page are you watching on that you're the only one that's commenting here? My Twitch is commenting. So whatever you're on, keep commenting, folks, because I'm curious. I'll just go onto this other page where I couldn't get everyone's messages. But yeah, so this shit's just wild to me. So now, Sean Clinton, I'm gonna, not to offend anyone, but you seem kind of like you might be the brains of this operation.
It goes back and forth, right? Because me and my brother were the co-founders. So how we run our investigations and how we pretty much run Unearthing the Supernatural is I'm the one that kind of takes on like a lot of the physical stuff that happens in investigations. Like,
well, you're a big boy.
Oh yeah.
Hold on, folks. If you're not watching the live and you haven't gone and seen the Demi Lovato or you haven't gone onto the YouTube, these gentlemen are not little fellers in any way, shape, or form. Yes, Ivy, I can see your messages. These are not little fellas in any way, shape, or form. What do you? How big are you two? And Patai, are you like the guy that are you the guy that was running behind? Like, I've never seen you outside of this. So for you, Patai, how big a boy are you?
So I'm 6'5". Last time I measured myself was about like 6 years ago now. So I'm probably like 6'7", around that.
They're growing big in Arizona. My
Right,
cousins live out there and play football out there, and they're all 6'6" and 6'7".
So I'm 6'3", so I'm more of the stockier build one, and so he's my little brother. My little big brother is what I like to call it.
What about you, Patai?
I'm just about 6 foot. So
yes, I mean, we're not talking little fellers here, even at 6 foot. I mean, so you're hawking up in there, Sean Clan. You're making it happen. So you've got to take the brunt. You're taking the brunt of the physical, and the fact you guys wear armor. I've never, like, that's a whole nother animal in and of itself that you guys feel like you have to wear armor to do this.
Yeah, because typically in a lot of our investigations of places that we go into, we tend to bring forth a more darker, stronger, negative side to a lot of places. Not all places are dark, I'll mention that, but some of the renowned places that do have darker entities inside of there tend to know our mark. They tend to know who we are, especially Hero and who he represents in his crew, and us as well. You know, they see our brand, they see our mark, and they know who we are as far as for like our spiritual labeling that we have in our tribe for our group. So
what does that mean? What does that mean?
So Hero, you want to go ahead and tell them that?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and mention that. So with us, we bear markings, as you can see, the silver eagle symbol on my hat right here. This is actually a sacred symbol that it's a little bit altered just to protect its sacredness, but it basically represents the particular class of entities and beings that have raised us and have taught us how to combat the darkness. And I guess a good way to think about it is you can think of a evil entity or spirit chilling at a place, and they see all these paranormal investigators go in, but they're not really threatened by them. They're not really too worried about them. But you have people that go in that have a name for themselves, that can actually get stuff done and ruin someone's agenda, ruin the dark side's agenda. Then that's when they put on their boxing gloves or worse.
So that's where that comes from. Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll see, like, in some of the episodes, like a good example is unfortunately Pattaya. he's some of the
he's the little one. Kicking the shit out of you.
Pretty much.
Fuck 6'7" guy. I ain't got nothing for him.
And that's the main thing is one of our key episodes that we did was over at the Gila County Jail inside in Arizona. And in there was a dark entity who didn't want a lot of spirits freed and saved in that location. And he was holding them captive, and Hero forced his hand to be able to save those spirits. And it was in that episode, Hero and Pattaya went off on the third story of that. It's an old jail. Went in there and they were like, why are you doing this? Why are you so negative? Why are you doing all these things? And then it was like, you need to get out. I said, well, we're not getting out until we help these spirits. And he's like, he's just like, we're not going to go yet. And then you hear on the spirit box says, yes, you are. And immediately right after, that's where you hear
what's a
Pitaya
spirit
get shoved. Yeah.
What's a
It's like-
spirit box?
So a spirit box is a device. It's called SB7 that runs through different radio frequencies to be able to create white noise. And in that white noise, the spirits are able to pick and choose words, and they'll be able to broadcast that over a speaker. So that right there is a lot of paranormal investigators find that device controversial because it sweeps through radio frequency. So sometimes you'll be able to pick up like the local radio stations and everything like that.
Okay.
But with us and our group, we were able to prove that the SB7 works because the spirits were starting to speak our spiritual Native American language through that radio.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So immediately right after Pitaya says, we're not going anywhere, it said, yes, you are. And Pitaya was shoved, and you hear him get crashed against the filing cabinet.
I'm sorry, Pitaya. I keep laughing at you catching an ass whooping, man. But
Oh, that's all right.
it's like, oh, look, Pitaya got thrown.
Pretty much.
But here's the thing, though. Normal people, whenever they get shoved or pushed, punched, scratched, anything by demons, they leave the building. This guy right here, Pitaya, said, no. Leave me alone in this room with this guy by myself.
Hold on, Pitaya. What the hell were you going to do?
I was confronting it. You know, that's one of the things that I've learned from these guys is when you got something that's powerful and willing to put its hands on you, if you run scared, you're just going to continue to get that. But these guys have taught me, you know, stand your ground, show that you're not afraid of it. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what I did.
Now, has anyone come to you yet and said, and most of your stuff, it sounds like on the left coast, it's out that way.
Yeah.
Has anyone invited you here on the East Coast to do anything?
So actually, Pitaya used to actually live in Kentucky. So
shit, Keith just made a comment. That's where Keith lives, is in Kentucky.
Oh, really?
Shit. So go ahead. I'm sorry. That just got me sick because my buddy Keith sent the message.
Yeah. It's all good. So over there, we went to go do a residential case for one of Pitaya's coworkers. We went to go check out the Gates of Hell Cemetery over by Elizabethtown, and we were able to go investigate the Bobby Mackey's location as well. And now that one wasn't originally supposed to be an investigation. It was supposed to be a tour. And it happened last minute. It's pretty crazy how a lot of our investigations, they just happen. Now, a lot of times that like when an investigation goes smooth, like we get messages like not too long ago, you know, you would get a message from location. It's just like out of the blue, like, hey, we're doing ghost tours over here. And it's like, okay, you know, there's a reason why we need to go over here. And we were originally going to Kentucky to do the residential case and the Gates of Hell, and just to go see Pitaya too as well. So Hero and I traveled all the way from Arizona to Kentucky, drove all night, and was a lot of fun, crazy drive. and on the way over there, he got an email saying from Bobby Mackey, say, hey, we have some openings this weekend. Do you want to take it? And just so happened that we were already on our way over there. And we were just like, because Hero tried messaging them and asking them for investigations or tours months ago. And he didn't hear anything until the weekend where we're going.
Wow.
And so that's like an invitation from the spirits. They're like, hey, we want you guys to come over here. We heard you're coming over here. Let's make it happen. So we go over there, we pick up Pitaya, and we're heading to the location, and we're just thinking, okay, it's going to be just like a normal tour. You know, they give the history, walk you around. There's a tour guide with you and everything. This lady, bless her heart, she was like, you guys have equipment. You guys have cameras. You guys seem professional. I'll lock you guys up here by yourself, and I'll take the rest of the group downstairs. And that right there.
See what happens to you.
Right.
Yeah,
so that's pretty much the spiritual, like, go downstairs and leave us alone up here with these guys. So we were up there for what? It was like an hour upstairs, an hour downstairs. And it was just quick 2 hours. But in that 2 hours was just life-changing, how everything that we caught in there. And it was
now, is this on the YouTube channel?
Yes.
And the YouTube channel is the same name, Unearthing the Supernatural?
Yes.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So that's another one for you folks. You got to go check that one out also. Make sure, subscribe, like, do all those things for their channels. I'm telling you, these gents right here, this is legit. And Keith has a legitimate question. He's actually got like 2 follow-up statements where he wanted to make sure he didn't sound like a douche, where he's like, hypothetically, I mean, I'm not sure you get a lot of those people that don't believe. Like, we've interviewed Banachak. Do you know who Banachak is?
Yes.
So I've interviewed Banachak. I mean, and you're talking, for you gentlemen, that is the 180 out. This is a man who has proven on the other side to universities, the stuff's not real. It can be manipulated. It's a load of bunk. How do you approach that? Because you seem very calm, cool, and collected. But Ty seems like a wild man. But very like he's over there punching at the air and everything. You can't even see it, folks. Like he's into something. I don't know what's going on over there. I mean, I've never had somebody say that like their mom would rather them smoke crack than play with ghosts. That's crazy. Wow. He's like, I didn't say that shit. Oh wait, stop messing with me. But no, how do you approach that when people have that vibe towards you? Like, you guys you're exploiting your culture. This is bullshit. How do you approach that?
So with us, I think when it comes to people who are non-believers, we're not really here to change their minds and per se. I think all we have to say is look at our evidence, and we're very honorable with who we are and who we are as Indigenous people and who we are as a group. Our evidence speaks for ourselves, and we will, for the most part, encourage people to come along as long as it's not too dangerous. Be like, hey, if you want to see for yourself, the door's open. So we're not there to really prove to other people that, I guess, change their minds. We let our evidence do that for itself. When it comes to the cultural practices of things, I say that it's a little difficult sometimes, but we always make sure that we protect the sacred teachings that we have. You'll never hear a full song. You'll never see a ceremony in its entirety. Even with these like the Demi Lovato show or Ghost Adventures, we made sure that we're like, hey, there's some things you cannot record. There are some things you cannot cut out. And the ceremony that you saw on TV was a ceremony that lasted 45 minutes. The Ghost Adventures one lasted 2 hours. So they obviously had to cut it down. But we always have to put our foot down and say, hey, we have to protect our cultural sensitivity and the sacredness of what we do. So that's where we put our foot down for that stuff.
Oh, wow. Now,
can I throw something up in there
please.
too? So one of the things that we do as well is we do everything we can to debunk the evidence that we do pick up. We want an explanation for why we're hearing what we're hearing, why we're experiencing what we're experiencing. And
exactly.
We invite people who don't believe that evidence. We want to hear about it. We want to talk about it. We want to see their point of view, because we're not cutting anybody out of it. If you want to talk to us about what you think it might be, shoot us a message. We invite that kind of conversation.
Awesome. Because I'm sorry. One thing I want to toss in too is like this is a big thing is what we're about is we're here for open civil conversation. And we're here to be like, okay, that's your point of view. That's awesome. You can have that. And let us present how we do things. You guys have like Ghost Adventures and everything like that. All right, let's do the same thing, but how we do it. And we compare evidence, compare things like that. And like I said, having a spirit box speaking the Native American language that isn't even written or logged inside of anything, that's a big, huge thing for these evidence. And my brother and I and Pattaya, whenever we got these pieces of equipment, we were skeptical ourselves of all that too. Ourselves, like, is this even gonna work? Like we bought it off this website. Like how is this gonna work? Is this all BS? And ourselves, like, we know the spirits are out there, but how can we fully put our trust inside of this equipment that we have? Because it's not something that we Native Americans use all the time. So that's why, we had to incorporate all this new technology with our ancient teachings. And going back on that, how we do our investigations, we don't seek to just make this light up. We don't just seek to have this piece of equipment go off. No, we go there to have conversation with the spirits, and we have the equipment validate our conversations. There's a difference. Like everyone focuses like, okay, my goal this investigation is make the REM pod go off. Like, cool, you can make it go off, but can you actually make contact with the spirits that are actually at the location?
Meaningful contact.
I'm gonna make you a promise right now. I'm gonna make you a promise. You see where it says Dylan Burchett? That's Keith. He's in Kentucky. Please take him to something. I promise you, if you take his wacky ass to something, at some point he's pissing himself, and it will be the highest rated thing. Like, you will pull clips out of that thing that you're gonna be like, what on God's green earth am I dealing with? He is like legit Kentucky.
Mhm.
Like,
Okay.
grew up in a holler.
Up by the creek.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, he's got a crick. He's got like I've known Keith for about a year now. I promise you, you're gonna see. You'll be like, what? What did Murph do? I'll be damned. The next thing you know, you'll have like ghosts making moonshine and shit like that.
It'd be some
We're
strong
sitting there right
moonshine.
along with them.
Like, and now that was another thing I wanted to bring up. So you've said this a couple of times, Hero, that you are a medicinal medicine man.
That's
Now,
correct.
I saw your one hitter, taking care of that. Now, how do you feel when, for you culturally, and make sure I'm saying this right, for you culturally, that is a cultural aspect for you, using natural herbs, using natural things to connect better with the spirit world. How do you feel when folks don't use it in that way, and they're more in a recreational, or do you use it even in any of the ceremonies on the show? And have you gotten any backlash on that? I know that's a couple questions there, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, so to answer the first part, put it simply, I kind of like drop my head a little bit, because it's like, okay, you're definitely entitled to how to use your objects how you want to, but at the same time, every object and everything that we do has a story, a meaning, and a purpose behind it. And there's a particular protocol that goes into collecting herbs or collecting objects and using them for a particular purpose. There's songs, there's stories, there's thousands and thousands of years of teachings that go into that. So acknowledging that and knowing all that is a huge aspect into utilizing the tools. Now, as far as for the tools that we use, it's a huge part of our investigations. Yeah, you'll see us with cameras. Yeah, you'll see us with modern day paranormal investigative equipment. But a huge part of who we are at Unearthing The Supernatural is we incorporate these ancient teachings. You'll see us use tobaccos. You'll see us use some herbs. You'll see us use some of our sacred objects, arrowheads, even fans, feathers. You'll see us use a very popular now tool we call the death mask. And it's actually a huge part of who we are. And what you see on YouTube or any other production, it's just partial. What goes on behind the scenes is very real, is very sacred, and very important to us. And we have to pick and choose what we show in order to get the message and the story across accurately, because we're there to tell the spirits a story. We're there to tell these beings, give them pretty much an open mic saying, tell us your story. Who are you? Why are you here?
Well, and another thing, I think so. God, you can see if I got was it the what the hell was it? The star
people.
Star people. Thank you.
Mhm.
I almost said Star Clan. Like, I thought that, and I think it was you, Sean Clinton, that made this comment that about the connection between the two and inviting, extraterrestrials to Earth through a spiritual. How do you even like that? I've never heard that tie-in ever in my life. That was a first. Like how are you tying that one in together? I just thought that was very interesting.
So with that, it just goes down to just the ceremonies and the stories and the connections that are had. It's hard to put into words as far as for the process of it. It's more of a practice. It's more of just something that we do. Just like I attribute like us building a fire. When we built a fire in front of the Peacock production, we built a fire in front of Ghost Adventures. They were awestruck and amazed. I'm like, we're just building a fire. But there, in honesty, it's to us, it's an everyday practice. That connection, that those blessings, those
Wait, what
prayers.
went on with this fire? Hold on. Like, it was just like, what was so special? Like, what did you do that was different?
Started a
So,
fire.
well,
Hey, like, I'm curious, like what happened here?
well, there's a difference between making like a camping fire, cooking fire, and a ceremonial fire.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to like a ceremonial fire, there's a prayer that goes with it. When you stack the logs, when you put everything together, is pretty much you're creating its purpose for what it's going to be used for. You're communicating with the natural element.
Okay.
And you're like, okay, this is what we're here to do. This is what we're going to try to communicate with. And we're going to use you for warmth, guidance, and protection while we do this ceremony here. And pretty much, we did that. They saw us do the prayer, give the offering to the fire as well. And they were like, whoa, my God. I'm just like,
I was waiting for you to be like, so Hero stood up there and went, and like the fire just popped up out of the ground. I was like, oh. On that note, ladies,
snap of his finger.
Done.
TV show. So, yeah, please go ahead. Go ahead.
No, yeah. So, like my brother described, it's really to us. It's every day when we start fires every day. We perform ceremonies every day. Everything that we do, every breath that we take, every motion of our everyday lives, our thought process is a prayer. That's how we live our lives. So it's a little bit of an adjustment process.
That makes sense. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about Pataya, my brother from another mother on this one. So Pataya and I, did you say grace before dinner, lunch, breakfast? We said grace. We had our ceremonial things. We had our processes. So it makes sense. That's what always blows my mind when people are like, that seems so odd. I grew up Catholic. We have a ancient Roman torture device that we now use as a symbol for everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much odder you can get. I'm not trying to downplay, but symbolism comes from places and comes from, and you create it and it gives it power, and that's where it comes from. But please never think that what somebody else's culture is doing is odd until you understand it and you know what it's all about. And also, I wanted to get into now, Hero, you have traditional tattoos on your face.
Yes.
Why don't you, Sean Klein?
I haven't earned them.
Now, like, because you have, I don't know what the correct name is. It's almost like a striping over your left eye, and then 4 dots underneath your right. Correct?
Yeah, 12 dots actually.
12 dots.
So,
oh wow.
Now the markings that I have are not. You're not going to see. There's only 4 of us that will actually have them on the Navajo reservation. Similar markings like this. To the common people, the Dene people, marking yourself is a taboo. You're not supposed to do that, with the stipulation, unless you've earned them. Every marking that I have on my body, every tattoo that I have, is earned in ceremony and through deed. Just like stripes, just like the war bonnets that the old chiefs used to wear. Every feather was earned, and we hold that to the highest degree. So there are only 4 of us that have earned these markings on our face to be able to be called a guardian. So it's very prestigious. It's very honorable, and I carry it and all of its teachings with the highest degree.
So go ahead, Sean Klein. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So the face tattoos are for like the higher ranking individuals, and for us lower people, like had gifted the symbol kind of like how we have right here. And what he's talking about is these feathers, and pretty much like kind of how the military uses medals and everything like that. And for our tribes, we used to have war bonnets, not war bonnets, but feathers you would earn for all the good deeds that you've done. So now we translate that into tattoos. And if my brother wasn't wearing the long sleeve shirt, you'd see his arm is like full of feathers.
I
noticed that before all those. So Pataya, you got any? Did they hook you up? I mean, you get bro, you get abused. You just get bruises, don't you?
Yeah, just bruises. That's about it.
No, he's definitely earned his feathers. The actual feathers that he's earned, he's definitely earned them. It's just his personal choice if he wants to bear those markings on his body.
It's fascinating to me, like the different, and I love your approach. It's such a it's a more natural approach, I think, is the best way to put it. It's a more natural, organic approach, not so much. It doesn't feel, when I watch some of the stuff, and I love all those things, I find them very interesting. I've watched a lot of those different shows, but after you watch them for a little bit, you're like, you guys are in a Hilton conference room telling people like some pretty basic information, just throwing out letters. I hear the letters SB. Your father passed. Well, that's kind of like very vague. Like,
Pretty much, yep.
you guys don't like it's very organic. You guys are going into places. You're going to locations. Got to get you guys here on the East Coast, though. Like like Kentucky's not the East Coast. Like that's somewhere like that's East Coast is like, I grew up in Baltimore. We got to get you over to East. Now, what do you feel about, now this is interesting. How do you feel about some of these like I guess, I don't know what the right term, like super haunted places, like Eastern State Penitentiary. There's the most haunted hotel in America is in Massachusetts. The Lizzie Borden house, these locations that, have their own personas. Living here in New York, you can go down not far from here and you can see where the whole story of the Headless Horseman is in the real Sleepy Hollow. It's a real place. So how do you feel about those locations that have been so bombarded? They have a history. Do they lose that spirituality because they've been so overdone? So, almost, I guess it's like it's been commercialized, for lack of a better term. Does it lose that vibe compared to a spot where like, hey, you guys don't have a clue, but there's this cave in Arizona out in the High Plains desert that I promise you. What's that?
The Apache Death Cave?
See, fuck, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Nope.
You just said Apache Death Cave. What? Oh, yeah. And then my friend Marisa, North Point Peninsula in Baltimore. I think it was Battle of 1812. Like, there's all kinds of shit out there. Fort Howard. So, and you're gonna have to tell me about this Apache Death Cave here in a minute, because that's just a name that you don't even want to be like, kids, we're going to the Apache Death Cave today.
But you won't believe where that's at. So we'll get to that later.
Oh God, that's in my backyard. So now, how do you feel about these much more commercialized locations? I mean, obviously, from a business standpoint, absolutely, it would be phenomenal for you guys to say you've gone and done these things. But how do you feel about it, from a truly spiritual, investigative standpoint? It's been done. I don't need to do this shit. I tell you, Todd's Farm would be amazing. If you did Todd's Farm, you would like Todd's Farm. All this shit's in Baltimore. These are places nobody goes that I'm telling you will mess you all up. Write it down. Sean Glenn, write it down. Write it down.
Write down.
I got you.
Todd's Farm in Baltimore. Go write that shit down.
There you go. So, like, when it comes to popular locations, in all honesty, I think we all think of it as like a double-edged blade, because one, it whets our appetite because it is very popular. There is something that's there, some sort of legitimacy of something that there's a reason someone's and so many people go there, and whether or not it is what it actually is another story. When we go there, we fully believe that popular locations for some reason are popular because a lot of the spirits there are fed with energy. They are fed with all that people coming in, the fear, the expectations, almost like a psychological type of feeding that these beings have. So they have a lot more energy to work with and a lot more energy to interact with us with. On the other hand, though, whether that's the story of that location is true, not too sure. We'll definitely investigate these popular stories of these haunted locations. But what we also do is like, okay, what other spirits are here? What other stories are here? What was here before this building? Who were the caretakers of this land? What beings used to roam about here even before humans itself? What people, what entities, what beings are here? So we always coin the term think beyond written history. And so we coin that term and use that term a lot. And when we approach locations, yeah, we definitely give respect to what happened, but we try to get down to the root causes of what made this location haunted in the first place, other than a tragic event, maybe. So we enjoy haunted locations for the energy that is kind of spawned out of there, the energy that is fed there, because it seems like those spirits, they're have the energy to talk and interact. That's for sure.
See, now that's an interesting. So, do you do your? Is there any? Now you talk about beyond the written. How do you even figure that out to say, oh, well, this land was, any particular nation, any particular group, they lived here at the same time. Like, how do you? Because you said it's not written history. A lot of the East Coast stuff, unless it's like the Lumbee or one of those nations, they don't, there's not a lot written out there to discuss it. So how do you find out, oh, well, this particular culture believed that, and I know Wendigo ain't right, but I got to introduce you to somebody about a Wendigo thing. There's a whole Arizona thing about Wendigo that's going to mess you all up. But how do you research that information?
So usually we try to get a hold of someone. If it's not written out anywhere, we try to get a hold of someone of the tribes that were of there that know stories, folktale, audibles, pretty much hand-me-down stories, and we go from there. And then we also go to the location. We look at the historical, like you said, we look at what tribes used to be around that area. We look about old battlegrounds. We look about old sites. We have a keen eye when it comes to old battlegrounds. We have a keen eye to sacred sites. There are signs and there are tellings in nature, in land, that say, hey, this is a very significant spot. You need to watch out for it. So we'll look for water. We'll look for trees, hills, mountains. We'll look at nature and let nature speak to us. And then we'll also talk to the spiritual entities that are there. We'll get signs. We'll get messages. We'll get whatever we can to get the story of what was there. As well as, like I said, the ancient teachings that I've been a part of is not just Navajo tribe. It comes from a lot of different tribes. So we'll often use those resources as well to be able to figure out what's going on there.
Now, the flip side to that is, has anyone ever sent you to some place when they're like, hey, my basement's haunted. I know it is. And you're like, all right, I'm headed out there. And you set up shop and you're like, folks, it's your hot water heater. You really got to replace that. That's really making a hell of a noise. And have you run into that?
In all honesty, that's what we try to look for too. That's what we honestly like. Okay, is there something explainable? Is there something plausible that could be happening? Is there an argon leak? Is there something that's causing a particular psychosis effect? Is there something that's messing with people's minds? You look also at the minerals of the area. Okay, is there radon that's coming out? Is there some sort of radiation of some kind? Is there some sort of herb? There are herbs that when they release their pollen, that becomes some sort of a psychedelic effect. So we look into all that. We look into the practical side. Is okay, can we disprove what's going on? And we kind of base our investigation off of what we find in those investigations as well.
So I see that. I love that fact that it's not just like, you said it, we found it, here it is. No, there's more to it. So I'm curious also, what is the three, because I'm going to hear about this Apache Death Cave here in a minute. What is for each one of you, where is the spot that you're like, I'd really like to go check this out?
You guys go first.
Go ahead, Sean Glenn.
So,
Fuck it, everybody point at Sean Glenn.
Okay. So definitely on my bucket list, number one place I want to go to is a Japanese suicide forest.
Okay.
That one right there is one place that has a lot of death. But here's the thing: is in their culture they didn't view death and suicide the same way as how we view death and suicide here. Back then, to their culture, it was honorable to be able to do that. So now I would want to see, you know, how those spirits interact with us and hear their point of view on how they see their world and with their culture and everything like that, and kind of like intertwine and connect and just have conversations with spiritual beings from that way out there. And I think that would be really cool. Japanese Suicide Forest, Waverly Hills Sanatorium. That's my second one. I really want to go to.
Now, where's that at?
Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville, Kentucky. Yeah.
Fucking Kentucky. Keith, what's your problem out there?
What do you got out
Something
there?
in the water, man.
Something in
You
the
have to look up the
moonshine.
Kentucky Blue people when you get a minute. Look up Kentucky Blue people.
So,
That's a real thing. You know about them, Kentucky Blue people?
I'm sure Patai does. Nope.
So that's where in modern culture I'm a big fan of the Appalachian culture. My family is originally my mother's side's all from Elizabethton, Tennessee, Appalachia. But that whole entire thing in American culture where they talk bad about the Appalachians and say that they're all inbreds, actually, Keith said it. Sean is upset. I am obsessed with the Kentucky Blue people. It actually comes from a particular family in Kentucky who everyone had this blue tint, and it was believed that they were all inbreeding with each other, and it's a real condition where your skin has a blue tint to it.
oh,
Yeah.
That's cool.
Let me change my color real quick.
No.
It's all okay. All right.
And it is not the
I'm
suicide forest in China. It's the suicide forest in Japan. Get your spot right.
In Japan.
But,
Yep.
so that's where Sean Clan wants to go. Pattaya, where are you trying to go to? Where's the spot for Pattaya?
It's hard to pick one, in all honesty. Talking with the guys all the time, I'm always adding to the list. One interesting place where I would like to go that actually one of our members, Best Paw, mentioned is shoot, I just spaced the name. I had it just a second ago. The gas, where the gas chambers are, where they took all the Jews.
Oh, Auschwitz.
Auschwitz. Yes, that's actually one place I do want to go. Number one, for history. Number two, the interaction. I just want to. I want to interact with the spirits and see. I want to go there and tell their story.
And that's such a 180 from Sean Clan, who's like, people passed away and they made that choice because seppuku in Japan was ritual suicide. It was completely acceptable socially. Now, Pattaya, you're talking about a situation where people completely 180 out from that. How about you there, Hero?
So probably the place on my bucket list that I'd love to go to would be one of the tombs in Egypt, one of the great pyramids, the great tombs over there.
Giza.
And to interact with that culture, that ancient culture, and present myself as an indigenous person and being like, here I am as an indigenous person. Here's my my beliefs. I'd like to learn a little bit about yours and interact with their spirits, interact with their beings, and see how life over the ocean for them really was.
That's interesting. You mess around, let Ra come get you. Ra come get your ass. See, for me, if I could get you guys to go, and you'll laugh at me, it's the two homes I grew up in as a kid. That's where I would send you. Give you my no shitters. And I've told this story many, many times. I told it to Patty. I want to tell it to you guys because I want to get your reaction to these two locations. So I've always believed in this. I've always had things happen. I'll put some of my business out there. I've always believed that for me, if I'm thinking about somebody enough, they'll hear me. I can't tell you how many times that people have come to me, my wife, my mother. Hey, did you call me? Nope. What? And then I used to just let it go. Like, no, I didn't call you, but I knew I was thinking about them. And then I started asking them, what did you think I was saying? And they started telling me, well, I thought you said this. That's what was in my head. It never came out of my mouth. But I've had those situations come. I was about 9 years old. Pataya, you're my new best friend, so you'll appreciate this. At least for today, till the show's over. I was. You guys remember the old race car tracks that you squeeze the trigger and it was a magnet track and the car would zip around it?
Yeah.
Are you old enough for that, Sean Glenn?
Mm-hmm.
Sean Glenn looks like he just graduated high school last week, folks. But I had one of those and had taken the cars off the track, went downstairs. I can still remember I was footy pajama age, folks, and went downstairs, came back up. And when I walked into the room, and this is why I always remember, and my father was like, oh, no, maybe you left the car on the track and there was a power surge or something like that. Here's why I knew, no. As I walked into that room at eye level, now look, I was a kid, maybe 3.5, 4 feet tall. At eye level, one of those cars came shooting across the room and hit the wall.
Dang.
I was like, oh! Now, I wouldn't cross into that room into my bedroom, which I still have the same crucifix. There you go, Pataya. Still have the same crucifix in my home that I kept in that room with me, which was my great-grandmother's. But my father was like, no, this is what it was, kind of trying to be dismissive. I found out that the first floor bedroom that we didn't use as a bedroom, we had it as like an entertainment room or like a den, was a person that lived in the house before we moved in there, passed away in the house, and that was where their hospital bed was.
Ooh.
So right where my mind went. And look, folks, as I tell this story, and two gentlemen, Pataya is just smiling at me, and the two gentlemen who grew up with this culture are sitting there going, ooh. It doesn't fucking help my situation any. The other one was a house we lived at in Baltimore, where I grew up at. And I can't tell you how many things happen in that house. Whether it be, like I told you, experiences where my mom would be like, where I remember one time thinking my mother was downstairs, heard her voice clear as a bell. And I'm like, I go downstairs and she's not there. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And she comes home. And that was the first time I actually remember saying to her, were you thinking about me on the ride home? She goes, absolutely. Why? I was like, I heard you. And then, look, Sean Glenn, don't be all like, Sean Glenn's got his hands all folded up like, oh shit, my man's fucked right now. Oh shit. Don't do that, Sean Glenn. That's not cool. That's not cool to me.
It brings back memories, man, of my childhood.
And then I've had experiences in that house where I will tell you that you'll laugh. See, I love my mother, but my mother is of that mindset of, if you weren't screaming, you weren't hurt. That was my mom's mindset. Like, you're fine. Don't worry about it. You didn't scream. I remember having a situation where laying in bed and feeling someone push me over. Like sleeping and just like felt like a hand. Look, Patai's like, this bullshit. I'm done. I'm out. And something pushed me, and it scared me so bad. I was still, remember, I grew up in Baltimore City. Feeling someone push you in your house was a bad situation because they probably meant somebody broke in. And I remember lying still as a board, like, oh shit. And I don't know what to do. And we had a dog. And at first I thought, well, maybe it was the dog. Dog wasn't nowhere around. Next morning, I remember saying something to my mom. Oh, she goes, oh, that makes sense. I'm like, what the hell makes sense? Well, I saw your grandfather at the foot of my bed watching me, and then he turned and walked into your room.
Oh, geez.
And then she had times where she was like, oh, there was a little girl that she would see in the same exact hallway and walk down. I have no idea if anything had ever happened in that part. I do know that years later, my dad would find a still hidden in the walls. So who knows what happened in that house. And next door, the lady who lived next door, my father bought the house. We lived in what's called a semi-detached. It's like a a single building, but 2 houses, one on the left and one on the right. And the lady had passed away there. And my stepmother, my father bought that house. And my stepmother said things used to happen in there all the time after she passed away. So I'm still a believer. And I want to ask this other last question, because we're gonna get ready to close the bar up here in a little bit. But what do you guys? How do you feel about that? Like, Hero, you said you had your gifts at 13. I probably wasn't much different in that age when things started happening to me, and really recognizing it. Obviously, I was younger for the first incident, but I was recognizing things happening.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts there?
So, as a child, I have the firm belief that children are very pure. Children, the teaching goes is that the younger the child is, the closer they are to the Creator. They still have that connection to God, to the Creator. And as you get older, you kind of put up a kind of, I get teachings put into you that, like, oh, that's not real. Oh, that's what you're seeing is not right. Here's the way life is supposed to go. So they get molded with the psychological clay theory. So I believe as you get older, you kind of get desensitized to a lot of stuff. At the age of 13, though, they say when that's the reason why they select us for a training like the one what we went through, is because we're at a time where we're able to still absorb everything. We still have a little bit of connections, that sensitivity, but we also are going through a change in ourselves. We're going through adolescence. We're going through our physical changes, and as well as mental and spiritual changes during that time. So being able to recognize those, being able to recognize your surroundings, means that you were open, and you've kind of been open, it seems like, throughout your early life, to where it never truly got officially closed off. You never got completely desensitized to the world around you, the extra world around you. And at the age of 13, that seems to be a pretty common time that a lot of children do get their gifts. A lot of youth start to kind of either go to where they'll live a normal life, or they live a life of extra sensories, pretty much.
Now for you, Sean Clan, you said it kind of brought up memories for you. What happened, brother? Like, I mean, here's Hero, which now, is that a tribal thing, or you just, you're really into like Japanese animation? Where's the Hero thing come from? Because I know you as a different name before you said Hero to me. I'm not going to mention it because I'm just not going to. But like, where does that, like, what happened to you, Sean Clem? Were you like, hey, I had some shit happen. What's the deal?
So a lot of people, when it comes to like a lot of this stuff, people generally think that a lot of our spiritual journeys started when Hero got his gift. But what did our family do before Hero got his gift? Before he was able to talk to spirits and combat them and defend our family and everything. So we lived in a house. Hero and I always sometimes still have nightmares about that place, because we grew up there as kids, and this particular home was on an old burial ground. And in our traditional
I know you don't live on burial grounds. I know that shit. I've watched enough cowboy movies.
So with that, in our traditional teachings, that if you come to live on a burial ground, ancient burial ground, you're supposed to move away. But our family, we couldn't afford to move away, so we had to just pretty much deal with it. We had medicine men before he was a medicine man. We used to have medicinal people come into the house, put up protections and everything. So we had, I remember, I always tell this story, but this is like my first, like, not my first, but my major paranormal event that happened to me. Was I was sleeping in a separate room from Hero. We had our own separate rooms. My parents live on the other side of the house, and one night I just hear footsteps come running down the hallway, and it startles me, because I'm like, who's running in the hallway in the middle of the night? Mind you, I'm like 7, 8 years old, just a couple of years before Hero got his gift. And this dark, you see like a dark mass come into the room, full silhouette. You don't see any like eyes or skin or anything, but he goes to my kid desk and starts grabbing my toys and throwing it at me. And he goes and reaches at me, and I'm like screaming my head off. The hallway light turns on. My mom comes running down the hallway, and this is the thing that she told me years later when I was old enough and I wouldn't be as scared. It's like, son, let me sit down and tell you something about that night. She's like, that spirit didn't disappear in your room. He ran back down the hallway, went into the living room, and my mom saw it too. And she was like, you need to get the hell out of my house. You need to get out of here. And
I've got chills.
And so she commanded that spirit to leave, and that spirit busted open our front door and ran out.
Now that brings up a thing, and I just have to tell you right now, Amanda Love is over here. That shit is scaring me. You don't know. I can sit and watch zombie movies, and I can sit there and watch anything, but anything that has to do with ghosts and spirits, I can't do it. And then just sending me messages, stop. Now, I've always believed in this, and I'd like to get your guys' feel on it. Any house I've ever lived in, owned, anything after my experiences as a kid, I walk in and I walk the house with nobody else there, and in a very respectful tone. This is who I am. I live here now. You are free to leave. If you choose not to leave, you are welcome to stay, but I'll make it very clear. This is my home. I live here now. We need to live together. And I make it real clear because I'm like, I don't play the game. I don't play the game. And I'm telling you, Grandma Rosie's crucifix is going right up in my world. Grandma Rosie's crucifix is as close to some shit that got touched by Jesus as you're going to get. Like Grandma Rose, I still have my grandmother's tiny little Psalms Bible that's like all leather and everything. Like to me, and see that's part of culture. Like to me, that's like an artifact. It's got superpowers.
Definitely.
Like to me, that book has superpowers.
Yep.
Like I could take. Oh, look, I'm going into battle. I'm taking Grandma Rosie's stuff with me. I have a rosary. I have this book. I have that crucifix. Bring it on, Cletus.
There you go. So what's interesting about that though is about your particular story and how you go into a home and you talk to the spirits and the beings that are there. First and foremost, that's kind of what we do as indigenous cultures is you bless the home. We always walk through a new home and we kind of get the feeling of it, whether we're going to be welcome there or not, or what kind of beings are there. But we always bless the home when we move in. We feed the home and we talk to it and say, this home's going to take care of us. This home's going to be sheltering us. And we, as indigenous people, fully believe that a home is alive. A home has a spirit. And so a home is there to take care of you and watch over you. So it's very important that you feed and take care of your home and you acknowledge it in that way. So we always do that. And on a secondary note, a little bit less indigenous, when I was doing my college studies, I found out that it is actually by law, you're supposed to, as a realtor, disclose to any potential people who are wanting to buy a home if it's haunted. If not, then you can actually be taken to court for it. There's actually court cases that have made that law.
That's too funny. Gents, this is amazing to me. This entire piece. So we know we can find you at unearthingthesupernatural.com. You're at Unearthing the Supernatural on Facebook. You're at Unearthing the Supernatural on Instagram. Is there a Twitter?
Yeah.
Yes.
And is that same thing at Unearthing the Supernatural?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So all these different locations, all of you have individual pages, or you want them to stalk you on the main page?
Yeah, we have individual pages. So on Instagram, I have official Sean Clen for UTS. Hero has his own page, and Patai is in the process of making his own. So yeah, we're learning
Patai
that
just
we
goes on his OnlyFans page. That's all it is, ladies.
I told you to close it, Patai.
Come on, take
it.
Patai is just out there. It's all feet pictures too. It's all OnlyFans feet pictures.
Demonic feet pictures.
He never clips his toenails. It's just. And look, Ivy says it. Holy shit! I've always felt that the house I grew up in has a soul.
Definitely.
They do.
And Nate loves your stories, and Amanda loves. So I should tell a prospective tenant when someone dies in the apartment. I check New York state laws. Yep. I have no idea what New York says.
Especially with those towns, especially what you grew up in, they're really, really old towns. So a lot of people have lived in those homes. So there's a lot of history behind that.
Yeah, like I kid you not, where I grew up as a kid, not far down the road. It's actually across the street from what we call Drug City, which was like a drugstore, but it's huge. It was like a huge giant like old school, and like the video store was in there. Do you know what videos are, Sean Kane?
Oh yeah.
That doesn't know.
Cassette tapes and everything.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you knew what that was. I'm not sure if you knew what that was. Guys, it looks like he's 12. But
Told you not to shave.
Grow my beard back.
but right, like almost physically across the street from it was a battlefield from the War of 1812. We lived off of German Hill Road because that's where they came down through. Like a lot of war stuff there, over in that way. So we know we can find you in all these locations. You can find you on your individual Facebook, Instagram pages. Folks, take your time, go look, go subscribe, like, share all their YouTube videos. If you share enough of them, Pataya will give you a 10% discount on his OnlyFans page. I'm lying, folks. He does not. I don't know.
Now you have to, Pataya.
Now
you have to.
Sure. Heroes got TikTok now, so I guess it's only time.
Oh, look at that! That's the next evolution. Spirit. It'll all be just spirit finger videos. Just spirit fingers. So there's where you can find these gentlemen. Any upcoming events, any upcoming things that you need everybody to be on the lookout, because you're also on Patty's network, also, right?
Not anymore, unfortunately.
Okay.
So yeah, we converted back to YouTube to be able to branch out a lot of our stuff for a lot of our hometown people who wouldn't be able to afford Paraflix. So
okay,
we're going to be re-airing a lot of our full episodes. All season 2 is going to be coming out on YouTube pretty soon. So that's where we have brand new cameras, brand new equipment. That's where you see Pataya get possessed in our season finale for season 2. One of the greatest episodes ever. I think that one, and very heartfelt. Almost started crying watching that episode, seeing my friend go through that again. Yeah, it was pretty deep. So we have a lot of our core episodes from season 1 coming out on YouTube. We have season 2 coming out on YouTube as well. We have merchandise on our website. If you guys can purchase some of that. If we have our own hoodies with our names on it, support us. All the proceeds.
You can go to the East Coast.
Yeah, well, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like
you have to buy this shit so they can come out here.
Exactly.
Yeah. So all those proceeds from that go into our trips and investigations. Everything comes out of pocket for us. So looking to be able to start filming season 3 pretty soon.
And in season 3, Hero will explain everything to me about the Apache Death Cave.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Well, actually, Sean Glenn did an episode at the Apache Death Cave, and you
can look it up
on YouTube. Yeah, that's our very first episode that we ever did. Had an iPhone and my iPad. That's all I had for equipment. And
so don't judge the cinematography.
Just very humble beginnings.
Very humble beginning.
I watched those iPhone commercials where they're like, we shot this entire video on an iPhone. What we didn't tell you was we had people that made thousands upon thousands of dollars an hour to go ahead and edit it and make it look amazing. But we shot it all on this thing.
Pretty much.
There was 45 phones, and then when we clipped it together, it was done with real bullshit. But the video was from our phone.
You'll be able to truly see how like an iPhone, iPhone 8 truly works with no bias.
No edits.
You could even go to Mammoth Cave in Kentucky. You got to go do that one too.
Actually, did you hear about the story about Bigfoot out at Mammoth Cave? Probably about 4 years ago.
No,
I think it was about 4 years ago. So a dad and a son, they went out. They were out camping in the area, and they were walking around, and the dad started shooting his gun, and him and his son were running, and the dad ended up shooting somebody. And the guy, the dad called the ambulance and everything. Police got out there. The person lived. And when they were like, why'd you shoot this dude? And he was like, I wasn't shooting at him. I was shooting at Bigfoot. The guy saw Bigfoot out there, supposedly, and was trying to, take his head or something. I don't know.
Had an entire bag of meth.
Bigfoot out of Mammoth Cave.
He was at Meth Cave, not Mammoth.
Probably.
So, gentlemen, I cannot thank you enough. This was a phenomenal Saturday night. Really appreciate it. We are definitely gonna stay in contact. As I tell all my guests, don't disappear at the end of this. We're gonna have a little bit of chat afterwards. But one of the other things is make sure, folks, if you're enjoying this, make sure you go check out unearthingthesupernatural.com. Check them on all the social media. If you're seeing us for the first time and you found us through these gentlemen, please make sure that you subscribe to our podcast on all your major podcast apps. You name it, we're on there. I hoard myself out to all of them. That's fine. It is what it is. Our Facebook, the Above the Bar podcast, our Twitch, the Above the Bar podcast, to our IG is the Above the Bar podcast. I even have a TikTok. I don't do much with it, but I have one. I will watch you on TikTok.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to do much with it, but we have a TikTok, and then our Twitter is at Above the Bar 4. Make sure you like and subscribe to all of us. We do this because we enjoy it, but you supporting us, you showing that pushes us forward, and then we can all get off of our day jobs.
Right.
Honestly.
Yes, right. We're all like, we do enjoy our employers, but an opportunity to do this full time would make us all happy. So now, what is tradition here on this show, folks, is all the guests get the last word. So we'll go round robin on my screen. I'm assuming it's the same on your screen. So Pataya, what's your final word?
My final word, when it comes to the spirits, number one, always respect them. If you respect them, they'll usually respect you back. And don't be afraid of them. Unless, of course, they're really showing you some malintent. But even then, don't be afraid. Stand your ground and know when to get out of places.
Sean Clan?
First of all, I just want to say thank you for having us on this podcast. It was a lot of fun. It's crazy how whenever we have these podcasts or conversations, time just flies by. It's so much fun. Love interacting with everybody, all of our fans. Go subscribe to this podcast here. Go subscribe to us. Thank you guys so much for everything. We honestly wouldn't be here without you guys. So thank you all so much. Many blessings to you for having us on this podcast, and many blessings to everybody out there having to listen. So thank you.
Thank you, brother. Hero.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, Sean, for having us and having some amazing questions, amazing interactions tonight. It was an awesome night. Thank you, Nathan, for bringing us all together. Thank you to each and every one of the fans out there for listening, for enjoying the content, for maybe learning a thing or two tonight. I really encourage you guys to subscribe and keep following us. This is only the beginning. May all your lives be blessed with this knowledge, and may you always be protected. Thank you, everyone.
All righty, folks. Be sure to push your stool in.
This has been an Earplug Podcast presentation. Found on earplugpodcast.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and wherever your favorite podcasts are found.